All right, let's check our microphone. See how it sounds. Check, check, check. See how it sounds. Check, check, check. Okay, that sounds good to me. Oops. All right. All right, so what are we working on tonight? We're going to hit some more wedges. And we should probably do some work on the driver. Still trying to get that driver swing to be a tiny bit shorter. Oh, just gets a little away from me in the backswing sometimes. But that is sort of my natural. It's always been that way a little bit. Just finished filming the next day in our 30-day challenge on the putter, the Pels tutor. Ah. Whew. Yeah, a little bit on the later side for a stream for tonight. Will Does Meme said hi. Hey, Will. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, it's definitely on the later side. I'm usually more of an early afternoon type streamer, but you know, got to make time when you can. Try to get the work in when you can. Really trying to feel this chest super stable. Whoa. Still working on the balance, which is okay. Oh, seems like we might finally have some good golf weather coming up next few days here. That'll be pretty exciting. What did we finish editing too? We had finished 9 holes in 90 seconds. That was a fun one to make. All right, let me catch up on the chat. How do you know if it's a good shot? I'm not sure I understand the question. You mean on the net? You can tell by how it feels off of the club face after enough time. Alternatively, you can put a towel down, or I use this tape sometimes to, mark a spot. Lucky Sanders says, flop it, bro. You want to see a flop shot? We can hit a flop shot. Grab our 60 degree. We've just been hitting some wedges in here. Will does memes. I'll come back to your question, but Daniel was also playing golf outside today, which is cool. All right, Lucky, here's your flop shot. All right, so we open the face, lower the handle, really pick it up to the outside this way, right? And then we're just trying to... That was pretty good. That hit it, like, up there someplace. So, glad I didn't flop it even more. Whoa. Ah. Getting sloppy. Getting sloppy. Oh, guys, I meant to tell you, I tried the TaylorMade TP5X, the Pix one, and I was a huge fan of it, actually. The one that Tommy Fleetwood uses, with all the little shapes on it. It's definitely different, but I was a big fan of it. I'm probably gonna get some more of those. All right, so Will does memes. Yeah, definitely, you're exactly right. Definitely closing the face too much if it's going to the left. G King said hello. Patrick said hello. Zeron said hello. Hey, guys. I can afford just one lesson right now. Is it worth it to do 1 hour lesson, or should I just spend that money on range/round? I think it's worth it to invest in a lesson if you're thinking about it already, right? You're kind of, your brain's saying, hey, this is probably a good idea. I've got I can afford it. If you're interested in improving your game, I do think it's worth investing in lessons. That can be really good. 2 for 1, hell yeah. Flankman, what age did you start? I didn't start playing seriously till like high school. So, 14, 15. But I learned the game as a younger person, maybe 10. But not seriously, just kind of going out messing around. What's the best channel for beginners? Oh, that's a good question. Well, I'm partial to my channel. But Good is really good. You can learn a lot from Grant Horvat. If you're looking for true golf instruction, there's tons of that out there. It's more about finding a style that resonates with you. I have things that have helped me in the past, and some kind of go-to tips and tricks. That's okay. I'll come back to it. But yeah, there's all kinds of different stuff out there, right? Dan Grieve is really good for short game stuff. He's an amazing teacher. Daniel said hi. Hey, Daniel Weaver. Also used the driver. Had a couple 300 feeders, but I had 200 and 400. Sean Clement is easy to understand for beginners. There you go. Hey, Hustle. Sup, happy Monday. MJ said hi, too. Hey, MJ. Nah, not today, Satan. Yo, I'm new to golf, and I always had a problem with my backswing. Nowadays, I go in and out. When I try to not go in and out, I lift my body up way too much. So are you talking about on the backswing, right? Trying to, not get the club head in this way? Help me understand your question a little more, Lenny. Hustle. Schwab says, I struggle with driver, so I use 2 or 3 iron. Adventure Brothers said, hey. Hey, Adventure Brothers. Do you believe me? Yeah, of course I believe you. I struggle with driver, so I use 2 or 3 iron. I think that's a good strategy, especially if you hit those clubs well. All right, so Hustle wants to know, how do we stop slicing the driver? If you're struggling with the slice, you're saying, hey, why is this happening, right? Why is my ball cutting so much to the right, right? And that's what happens when we, make an inside takeaway, and we get steep and over the top, and then we approach the ball from the outside, right? And the club face is open, right? So we're hitting down with this steep strike. We're adding a ton of spin. The face is open, and the path is across it, So we're going to produce this big left to right spinny shot, right? We want the opposite. Instead of hitting, like a drop shot, we want to try to hit more of a forehand, right? A low spin shot. And in golf, we want to launch it up into the air. So the drill that I'm going to have you do, Hustle, is grab your head cover. It's my go-to slice drill, right? Drop this down just kind of behind and to the right where you've got your ball teed up, right? Something like that. And hopefully your ball won't fall off a tee like mine did. But what this drill is going to force you to do, right, is to make a swing with a much shallower approach into the ball, right? Because if you do make that steep swing, say you get over the top this way, right, and your path to the ball is going to be impeded. You physically, you won't be able to hit the ball if you make that slice swing. So this drill is going to force you to swing it more shallow, and I'm going to move my club so that I don't break my driver, because that would be devastating, right? But what we want is to create more space, right, with a wider takeaway to allow that club to shallow in this way, right? And so with that drill station set up, if I make a swing that's shallow and from the inside, right, that head cover's not in my way at all. I can get to the ball nice and easy, right? And I'm going to produce a path that is much more neutral. And once you learn how to square the face, right, well, then you're well on your way to hitting some nice high draws down the fairway, right? So give that drill a try. When I swing through it, I swing outwards. Can you help with how to hit drivers? What kind of tee is shaped like a sickle? I'm not sure. Hey, John, tried your advice with the longer iron clock face positions for leak drives under trees. Worked a dream. Oh, that's awesome, James. I'm glad to hear that. Daniel said hi. Hey, Daniel. Hustle's going to try that out. Awesome. So, EXO, same idea here, right? We're hitting drivers. Set this up. Give yourself a blocker, right, that'll try to produce that shallower strike, right? And something I've been working on, too, trying to make some smaller swings. My tendency when I'm hitting drivers is to get too long this way, right? Too much overswing back here, right? We don't need all that. So I've been working on hitting some, what feel like to me almost like 3/4 ones, but it's still a pretty full backswing. So that's another one, EXO. If you're struggling with driver, just slow it down a little, right? You don't got to try to hit it 300 yards and work on your impact, right? Hitting it straighter and more in the center of the face. But you can make little swings, right? Keeping your balance, making a nice strike, trying to practice hitting the center of the face. So that would be a good tip to try with driver, right? Is to slow the swing down, make it smaller, right? And just practice those skills. Oh man, hitting driver is the best, isn't it? I love hitting driver. What about those of us who struggle for consistent contact getting the ball off the ground? Good question, Robert. Anthony also said hi. We're going to try to answer the rest of these questions and catch up as best we can. So for consistent contact, right, we need to have the shaft leaning a little bit forward at impact, right, to hit the ball with the center of the club face. And if you're really struggling with truly, getting the ball up into the air, Robert, what I want you to do is, again, like I was just saying with the driver, grab an 8-iron, maybe a 9-iron. When you're at the driving range, right, I want you to try to hit this ball, not with a big, long, full swing like this, right? But I want you to hit some little half, waist-to-waist type shots and really, see if that will make it easier to feel the type of contact you need to get the ball up into the air, right? Because a lot of beginners struggle trying to make a big, long swing and deliver, a quality strike. So just practice your impact position, right, with the handle leaning forward some this way towards the target, right? Our hips will be open at impact like this, right, with our head still, kind of in line or slightly behind the golf ball, right? And you can just hit some little half swings like that with a 9-iron. Try to hit it maybe 40, 50 yards in the air, right? And try developing your skills that way, Robert, so that you can, see the ball flying straight towards your target, and just make it a little slower. Make it easier on yourself to try to build these skills and then add some speed to it. Can we show the grip? Sure. So my grip on this side is like this, right? I overlap my pinky finger here, and then you should not step on the driver. Over here, it's something like this, right? And I make sure that I grip it, with some angle here in the shaft so that it's leaning towards the target. And as you can see, the club is, largely in my fingers, right? I'm not holding it, in the palm here, right? So that's what my grip looks like. How can I start to develop my own swing? What's the first step? Well, I think the first step, Oscar, is learning impact, right? So, like I was just demonstrating, learn this impact position, right, where you feel that compression on the ball. The ball flies up into the air. It flies pretty straight towards your target. And then, so again, if you're truly a beginner, start from impact and work backwards. That's how your swing will develop, right? Because then, then your body, your own mobility, your own tendencies, right, athletic movements you've done before, those things start to take over, and those will give your swing its shape and characteristics, right? Whether it's, its length or its tempo. So I would learn impact first, and then add some speed and try to learn what your swing is like. What kinds of things do you do to change bad swing habits? Good question, Adventure Brothers. You got to go really slow, right? And just do it over and over again without even hitting golf balls, right? So like I said on the other stream last night, I set up my camera in my bedroom over the winter, and I just made a whole bunch of swings on camera just practicing this takeaway, right? Trying to stop doing this to get the, keep the club out wide, right? And I didn't even hit balls. I knew it was a bad habit. I worked on my posture some too, right? I built in some checkpoints, and I just practiced this movement. Just trying to ingrain that, right? Trying to break that old habit. So hopefully that helps. Why do I hit my 5-wood 210, but my driver 175? I would guess it's probably an impact thing, right? You might be, because of the loft on the 5-wood, hitting it with the appropriate amount of spin, right? Whereas if you're hitting a really steep driver that spins up in the air, right, even with a longer club and higher swing speed, it might not be going as far. Sorry if I missed your question, guys. Just ask it again if I did. I'm just trying to keep up with everybody. Best place to buy +1 or +2 clubs for beginners. You mean lengthwise? I would say probably eBay be your best bet. Low or high hands at impact? I think low if I had to pick one, but my honest answer is to me it feels pretty neutral, right? I don't feel like my hands really are coming in much higher or materially lower than where I start, right? I like to feel like my swing thought is largely kind of one plane, right? I just send the club up and I send it back down on the same plane. So that doesn't leave a ton of room for feeling like my hands are much higher or lower. But it is important to know that the toe of the club does stand up some impact, right? That's just because of how golf clubs work. How should I play while keeping a real handicap but still using some mulligans? Good question. So I think if you want to keep your handicap, right, just make sure that you're playing that first ball all the way into the hole, right? Whether if you hit into a hazard, you take your penalty shot, you play that shot to the green. It's totally fine to, while you're out there, so, if you're out by yourself late in the day, right, you're not holding people up, drop an extra ball, hit an extra shot, right? Say you hit one, you're like, oh, that really wasn't my best. I know I can hit that shot better. Grab another ball, practice the shot, and, play your first one from where it ended up. I think that's fine. Tips for overextending and early extension. Good question, Hood Skaters, because I struggled with this myself a ton, so I spent a bunch of time on this. First thing I'll say is make sure that your hip and ankle and knee mobility, right, all your left side mobility is where it needs to be. That was what held me back from a better golf swing for years, right? I just physically could not make my hips rotate enough. My ankle couldn't turn enough. So start there, right? But after that, it's about, for me, what really clicked was understanding why early extension happens, right? And for me, it was I had an inside takeaway, right? So my downswing was going to be steep. I was a super strong right-handed player, right? All my feels were just throw the club with my right hand, right? So then I was doing that to steepen it. And my tendency was always to get quick on the way down, right? To really yank the handle, right? So all of those things, in order to hit the ball, you have to go like this, right? I can't even like do it enough now. You know, you have to extend and lean back, right? And I push my hand super far forward to still deliver some lag. And it was all a result of those things, right? But the crux of the point I'm getting to was not having enough time, right? We need time for this club to change direction because the club head is swinging on such a wider arc than our hands, right? So my early extension got so much better when I understood, right, that I need to give my arms and my hands time to stay out of the way, right? And once you understand the sequence, early extending doesn't make any sense at all. You're like, oh, I just don't need to do that, right? So some drills you can do that help for me, pushing your toes up into the tops of your shoes when you're hitting shots, right? And then hit some little shots. And then you'll really feel what's required to use your chest to cover the ball, right? And to rotate and square the face that way. I like that one a lot. Presetting your impact condition. This is a great drill, not just for early extending, but just for feeling like this impact position we want to get to, right? And then making some little swings from there. And just notice, how crisply you hit that ball, how easy it is to get into this, balanced, rotated position, right? I think there was a question I missed earlier about having a balanced follow through. And as someone who often, again, a thing that I've worked on a lot in the last 6 months with my balance, you can, when you're scrolling on your phone, right, pick up one foot and just work on your, literally balancing better. You can wiggle around a little, work on your balance, right, as if you were a gymnast. Like, this is a skill that we need for golf. Our feet are moving all over the place. We're trying to apply tons and tons of force. We're swinging a driver often over 100 miles an hour, right? You need some skill, some balance, right, in your body. And then from there, you just have to slow it down until you can, maximize the speed at which you can swing while maintaining your balance, right? So it's not 100% speed. I mean, I can swing super fast, faster than I ever would on the golf course, and lose my balance and kind of walk after it, right, and see where I land. But if you want to work on your balance and finishing your follow through, you have to do it at a speed where you can accomplish that goal, right? So if the only goal is nice balance follow through, you might have to start with a really slow swing to be able to hold that balance follow through, right? And it takes a lot of practice, and then you build the speed back up to it. Natine says, just started watching your streams, really love the content. Thank you very much, Natine Batia. That's very nice. If you guys are enjoying the stream like Natine, you want to hit that subscribe button, follow along. We're just getting started, really, on YouTube. It'll be 5 months, I think, this week that we started. We started in January. Coming up on 2,000 subscribers already. Tons of support on the live streams. Yeah, it's been super fun. I've really enjoyed the process, learning how to make stuff that is interesting and compelling. It's pushed me to make my game better. It's given me the opportunity to, share stories and things that I've learned in my life that I think have had an impact, right? We had somebody in here, sharing some personal stuff, saying, like, this actually helped me. That was really impactful for me. That was a huge moment for me to be like, this isn't just about golf, right? I have had experiences, whether that's with therapy or drinking, and now being sober, right? To be able to actually talk about real stuff and have an impact in people's lives. And that's super cool. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to keep doing it. And thank you guys for continuing to show up, for subscribing, following along, all the nice comments. It's been super cool. So thank you guys. Hayden says, what are some drills to stop coming outside to in? Great question. We just had this drill set up, so we'll do it again. Grab your head cover, right? I have my driver head cover here. And if you're swinging out to in, right, that's because your takeaway is inside this way. The club has to go back this way to get to the ball, right? So if you put your head cover here, it's going to physically block your path to the ball if you make that swing, right, that gets over the top. So it's going to force you to change your swing path. and approach the ball much more shallowly, if that's a word, much more from the inside in a neutral kind of way, right? In order to avoid hitting that head cover. So give that one a try. That should definitely help with your outside to in path. And remember, the outside to in path is because of the takeaway. It's not because of the downswing. It's because there's not enough room in here. You have to go this way, right? Try to feel the opposite loop, as if the hands stay in, the club stays out, and then the club drops in from the inside, right? And then you have all the room in the world, all this space to do whatever you want to get back to the ball. So start with the takeaway, see if that helps. Definitely should help the outside in swing. Hey, Paul Cummins is here. Hey, Paul. Steezy asks, how do you feel weight transfer from toes to heels in your backswing? Good question. So again, I would detach this from golf, away from hitting golf balls, and just practice the skill that you're working on, right? So you could make a backswing, and I do this a lot, where I'll practice, then boom, feeling that weight shift from, oops, shouldn't break my ankle on a golf ball, from the, this front big toe, right, in the backswing. That's where I feel the pressure in my left side, in my left foot, right? And then feeling that weight shift back into my left heel in order to create this space, right, and rotate through the ball, right? So you can practice that without hitting a golf ball at all. Just make a backswing, and then boom, weight shift, transfer, and just feel what that feels like to start the downswing, right? Boom, weight shift, post up, and go. James asks, any guides to ball lies around greens? What clubs or shot selections to use? I seem to go to my 56 every time. Yeah, so you definitely got to practice. And find my best advice for chipping, if you're a beginner, is find a shot that you can confidently hit 10 out of 10 times on the green. Right? Grab a dozen balls, go out on the practice green, and try a different couple shots, different clubs. Find what seems to make the most sense for you. But our goal in chipping is always to get our next shot on the green. Play our next shot from the green. Right? No double chips. Don't leave it in the bunker. If you want to lower your scores, got to start. No double chips. Right? Alexander, how can I fix my grip? So to fix your grip, right? Keep a club laying around. And just while you're watching TV, while you're watching YouTube, while you're watching me stream, right? Grab a club and just work on whatever the change you're making, right? If you're trying to strengthen your grip, if you're trying to, get it more in the fingers, right? Whatever it is, and you got to just get, time on the grip, and just start feeling, it's going to feel weird at first, and our goal is to just get more and more time, holding that club, feeling that new grip, right? Waggling it around. And you can just keep clubs stashed around your house, right? My wife hates it, but I just, I'll leave a club by the couch. I'll leave one by the bedroom. And that's a great way to just have them around to, work on stuff. Deadshot Elite asks, how do I keep from topping or making a divot before I hit the ball? So if you're doing that, right, let's remember our goal in the golf swing is to move the low point slightly in front, in transition, in order to hit the ball first and then the ground, right? So that weight shift that I was just demonstrating, that's the whole goal, right? Is to move the low point from here to somewhere in front of the ball, so we hit ball first and then turf, right? But if you're hitting a top, or if you're hitting the ball, the ground, if you're swinging completely over the top of it, right? You might be overdoing that weight shift, right? Getting too much this way, right? So that your low point is too far in front of the ball. We need to move that low point backwards for you, right, to a point where it's still in front of the ball, but not to the point where you're swinging over it and hitting the top of it, right? So what I would recommend working on, again, not at full speed, but just make some swings where you feel like your sternum doesn't move all that much during the swing, right? Like your chest stays right on top of that ball, right? And just make some little swings, right? Trying to feel like you're moving that low point back so that you can hit the back of the ball and compress it. And again, slow speed, half swings. You're going to hear me say this a lot, guys. That's your friend here, right? Just nice and balanced. Boom. Give that a try, see how it goes. I used to do nothing but only slice the ball, and now all I do is hook it. What's going on with my swing? Good question, Groovy, and hi to you as well. Paul said, I went to the course today, John. You never lose it. That's amazing. It's been a long time, right, Paul? So you're struggling with some inconsistency, and I'm going to come back to Griffin's question about the wedges too. Right, so if you're slicing it or hooking it, what I want you to work on is building your skill set around club face control and path control, right? So when you were slicing it, right, the face was open and the path was across it. Now that you're hooking it, the face is too closed and, maybe too much from the inside, right? So I would try to set up a station where you give yourself some guides to say, okay, I want to hit it, have a really neutral path into the ball, and give yourself some barriers like this so that if you are really coming in, steeply from the outside or from the inside, right, you're going to hit one of these barricades, right? And I think that should help try to neutralize, right, get that path, more down your target line so that you don't see that ball, over curving one way or the other, right? But don't forget, one of my favorite ways to practice this is to fight fire with fire. So if you're hitting a huge hook, right, open the face, learn how to hit some huge slices, right? See the ball going the other way. And then once you feel like you can do that a bunch, then turn around, hit some big hooks, right? But I want you to start developing within your own feel set, within your own swing, some skills, right? How do I control the club face? How do I release the club and start the ball, on my intended line, right? These are skills. I don't want to just give you a drill and say, do this drill and you'll hit the ball straighter, because that's cool and could be great, but, it'll be much more fun for you to develop within the confines of your own swing. Like, okay, here's how I feel a draw, right? Versus a fade. And teach yourself how to hit those shots. And that's really, how you start to control the club face. If I play baseball, would it ruin my swing? No, I don't think so. I think it's a great idea to play other sports, develop other muscles and skill sets. I think I definitely benefited greatly in my golfing life from having access to other sports. How's the putting going, Paul asked. The putting is going okay, I'll say. Tonight we had 48. Yeah, we made 8 out of 10 in the first set, and then the last 4 were clean. So 10 out of 10, made the last 40 plus in a row. So that was good. Tommy Fleetwood knockoff. I love that. Thanks, Ollie. I love Tommy's swing. I try to emulate it quite often. I just got new irons and have a draw, but I either push it or pull it. I can't figure out my aim point. How do I fix the push or pull? Good question, Tripadoodle. Right, so you're talking about start line, right? What I would do for that, number one, check your alignment. So one way to do that is, set up, say this is my target line, and I have a line drawn, that's where I'm aimed, right? And then I'll set up to the ball. And I'll drop this club down, right? And what we're looking for is a nice parallel train track kind of look here, right? To make sure that our feet and our we're set up squarely to our target line, right? If say you're pushing it, you could be making a good swing, with a pretty neutral club face, right? The ball's not curving a whole bunch. But if you're set up this way and trying to hit it there, right? You're going to be like, oh, I'm pushing it. You might be hitting it perfectly straight and just aimed over there. Right, I do that all the time, especially off, coming out of the winter. I'll start getting like this, and then I'm like, oh, I'm looking over my shoulder a bunch to look at the target. Like, I wonder if I'm set up to the right. Like, of course I am. So that's one way you could start, right? Check your alignment. If your alignment is good and you're still pushing it or pulling it, right, set up that drill I just had to try to neutralize that path, because the path might be just getting, a bit out to the right or across it, right? Even if your club face is square, if you're delivering a square club face, that's great. We just need it to be more down our target line. So again, then the last piece, functionally, how do we actually get better, right? Well, find a target down the range somewhere, right? I'll use like that line on the wall there. And you could set up like a field goal, right? Give yourself a window where if you deliver, a pretty square face and you start the ball in the field goal, it should land close to your target, right? What you don't want is the one that starts outside of it to the right or to the left, right? That big push or pull. So that can give you some instant feedback and a target to say, I'm just trying to hit the ball through that field goal, and let your body and your natural, you know, swing ability take over to accomplish that task. So that can help. Did you play college golf? I did. I played some club golf in college, which was really fun, and it was probably about Division II in terms of competitiveness. Like, you know, everybody was between like a +2 and a 3 index, maybe. Griffin wants to know how to spin wedges. So, Griffin, are you talking about full swings, like full shots, you know, a 100-yard swing? Or are you talking around the green, like hitting little, you know, checky pitches and stuff? Tripadoodle says that, thanks, that makes more sense than some other people I've seen. Well, I'm glad that helps. Alexander also asks, how do you know you're at a good distance with the ball? Griffin said full swings. So, spin is a result of, you know, good contact with the ball, right, and speed. So if you want to spin your wedges more, hit them harder, or, you know, swing faster, right? But one thing I would caution against, because, you know, you see it on TV all the time and it looks super cool, where a pro lands a ball, you know, 20 feet beyond the hole and then spins it back and it gets super close, right? Generally speaking, good players are not looking for that kind of spin on a wedge, right? It'd be much nicer to have it, you know, one hop and stop and maybe pull back a tiny bit, right? And end up pretty close to that total carry number, right? I don't want to have to worry about, well, it's a 100-yard shot, so now I have to carry it 110 to hit it 100 because it's going to back up 30 feet, right? So understand that spin is our friend, but we don't want to overspin the ball, especially with our wedges, right? That's what you see, you know, you'll hear commentators say all the time, he's got to control the spin here, right? But that said, if you want to, you know, increase the spin on your wedges, what you would do is make sure that you are delivering, you know, a perfect, clean, crisp strike on the ball, right? With lots of descending angle. And the ball should spin, right? You can play a spin your golf ball if you really need to see the ball spin more. But I would hazard you against chasing that like super spinny, you know, one that rips back, right? Because then you start trying to hit that front pins, you start spinning back into the water, into a bunker. You know, it's much nicer to have your ball just kind of hit and stop. So Alexander, good question about how far you stand from the ball, right? Couple checkpoints you can use. And if you guys are enjoying the stream, feel free to subscribe. I do really appreciate it. So a couple checkpoints, right? Let's say we're going to hit this golf ball here. Especially with an iron, I want my arms to hang very naturally, kind of like right where they would if I wasn't even holding a club, right? So get all the tension out, take your posture right, you know, a little bit of knee bend, some hip, waist bend, right? And just feel like, where do my hands kind of hang naturally? Where would I, you know, want to bring them together, right? And you'll find that's a really good place to start for where you want to hold the club, right? So for me, it's something like this. And you'll notice if I drop this club, my hands don't really move all that much, right? They're still right where I left them. Let's say I stand much too far away from the ball, right? And I do that same thing. What's going to happen? My arms are going to fall towards me because I'm standing too far away, right? So that can be a good way to check. Vice versa, if you're standing too close, your arms will move away from you. So same idea. And on top of that, a checkpoint that I was taught really early in my golfing life was just use the width of your hand, right, like this, on the end of the club. And when you take your stand, your wrists, right, at the end of your hand should be about filling that space. Not, you know, super tight, like it's pushing into your belly, or too far away where it's not going to touch or connect, right? But something like that, and you'll find, is also a decent checkpoint to find, you know, how far away we want to be standing from the ball. So hopefully that helps. Okay, Kyle asks, can you explain your driver setup and maybe a swing thought with the driver? Sure. Thanks for the tip. Just looking to be able to get it to stop when I hit the green. Yeah, so if you're making a good strike and you're launching it up into the air nicely, it should definitely stop on the green with a wedge. Right? If you're hitting it, you know, too low, it's coming in really hot, right? The spin isn't going to help. You got to, you know, improve the launch conditions first. Okay, so driver setup. I try to keep it all pretty simple. And for me, that means, like a normal iron, call it, you know, like 5 iron through wob wedge is all right out of the middle of my stance, right? Once the clubs get a bit longer, call it, I don't know, 4 iron and up to 3 wood is maybe a ball forward of that. And then drivers 1 more ball forward of that. So that ends up being, you know, a few inches inside my left heel, right? I sometimes struggle when I get the ball too far forward in my stance, hitting the ball too far left. So I try to keep it, you know, in a pretty neutral spot that's slightly forward of center. The setup, you know, the arms hang further away from us, right? There's a longer club. We need more space to create speed, right? So I am standing more upright. I'm slightly tilting, you know, my left shoulder is higher than my right because I'm trying to create a condition which can have a positive angle of attack to launch that ball up into the air, right? Taking spin off, increasing distance, all that good stuff, right? And for me, my driver swing thought at the moment is to just be really smooth in transition, right? When my swing gets bad or off, I start hitting bad shots, is because I get to the top and I go, boom, time to hit. Let's swing the club. Let's, you know, rip this handle down and hit it, right? And then the face gets shut or I start blocking it. All kinds of bad stuff happens. So my swing thought at the moment is to really just, you know, make the backswing and then hang out there for a second, right? Let that energy gather. Let the club gather, right? And just hold a balanced finish, right? I mean, I can hang out here all day long. You know, I'm not overswinging it. So that's what I got on the driver for now. Hopefully that helps. How do you gain distance? So more club head speed or better launch conditions. Those are most of the choices. To impart more energy into it, or you can improve your launch condition so that the same amount of club head speed can produce more distance, right? So number 1, you can do overspeed training. Like I have these super speed weighted clubs. You can go to the driving range and just swing drivers, you know, 20 times in a row as fast as you want, like a workout, right? You can go to the gym and lift weights and just make your body stronger in order to swing faster. So that's option 1. Option 2 is improve your launch conditions, right? So you could reduce spin off of your tee shots. You could launch them higher into the air, right? Those are ways that you could hit it further with the same amount of club speed. I have trouble controlling the club face. I have to flip my wrist to keep it from going right. Thoughts? So if you're having to flip it at the bottom, right, that means that your body, you might be extending a little bit this way, right? That club is stuck behind you, and then in order to not hit it a mile right, you're throwing it. I'm very familiar with this move, right? Go back to what I was saying about, you know, early extension being a result of not having enough time and space, right? So we need to keep this arc as wide as we can, right, to give ourselves all this room to come and hit the ball, right? When we get steep and inside like this and it gets narrow, right, you have to kind of go this way and flip it to even get back to the ball, right? So that's what we want to avoid. So work on smoothing out that transition and making sure that you have plenty of room. Make sure that club head is far away from you in the backswing, right? We don't want it inside, getting in here. Keep that club head away from you. Keep that arc nice and wide, right? And then give that club the time to shift to the downswing, and you'll be good. Kyle said, thank you. What are your thoughts on using a glove for putting, and should I have a putting routine? I don't have an opinion on using a glove for putting other than I think it feels strange for me, and I've never seen a lot of people do it, although I think Jack Nicklaus putted with his glove on, and he was a pretty good player, pretty good career. So that's obviously just personal preference, I think. I like feeling, you know, having my hands on the club. Same with chipping. I don't chip with my glove on. I take that off. Should I have a putting routine? Absolutely. You should practice it. You should time it. You should try to do everything the same, right? Having a routine both for your full swing and your putting will you can get better at golf by doing that and implementing that without changing your swing, without learning how to hit the ball better, just by giving yourself a routine and something for your brain to say, okay, we've been here before. I know what's going to happen, right? John's going to make a practice swing behind the ball. He's going to visualize his target. He's got an intermediate target picked out. He's going to step into the ball. He's going to do a couple waggles. He's going to find his balance, shift his feet a little. And then when he feels ready, he's going to, make a swing and send the ball down the fairway. And if it hits the fairway, he'll probably, do a little club twirl, right? Like you want, truly every little detail to be just rinse and repeat, right? We've been here before. Golf is not about reacting. No one is trying to move the ball away from us. The target isn't moving, right? This is a block practice, repetitive activity, right? So same idea with like an NFL kicker, right? How do you block out the pressure? There's 80,000 people trying to watch me. The whole game is riding on me making this kick, right? If you ask any of them, what do they say? I go back to my routine. I just try to make it the same as in practice. My body knows what's going to happen. My brain knows what's going to happen. We just go out, we kick the ball, it goes through the uprights, right? No big deal. So having a routine and being able to control what happens before the ball, that can be a really, really good thing to add. Another question, when I hit my driver, has a good carry. Once it hits the ground, it just stops. I want to get some more roll on my balls. I wouldn't worry about it so much. I think that's going to be more about the conditions you're playing in, how firm the fairways are. Right, if you optimize your launch in your spin, right, that carry number, that's most of what you can do. Can you explain shifting weight through the swing? I struggle when trying to shift weight and finish through correctly. Thanks again from the Bay Area. No problem. You're welcome, Gustavo. Happy to help. So the weight transfer, right, Alex, no, I had to pay for this. This is from eBay. I wish. They told me I was outside of warranty, so I had to just get a new one. That's okay. So the weight shift, right, what happens in the backswing? We're trying to create this energy, right, get it into that club, and then get it back into the ball as efficiently as we can, right? So in doing that, Gustavo, imagine you had a kettlebell, right, or a sandbag, something kind of heavy, right? Something, a med ball, something, 20 pounds, right? And you had to throw it over that way towards the target, right? What's your body going to do? You're going to lift your arms up, right? You're going to kind of squat into the ground, push into the ground. You're going to throw your arms up, and then you're going to turn, swing your arms down, and release it towards the target, right? That's exactly what's happening in a golf swing. So try to feel that. The weight shifts into here, right, as the arms go up. That's our backswing. We shift the weight forward, right, in order to get going this way. And we release through the club, and we finish up here on our left side. Does that help, Gustavo? Hopefully that made sense, right? Another way you could practice that is when you're out on the range, grab a club, and with just your lead arm, right? So if you're a right-handed player, be your left hand, and make some swings. Start with your feet together, hold that club out in front of you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to simultaneously swing the club back while taking a step forward, right? So something like this. Boom. And that can really help feel the sequencing, how that weight is supposed to shift, right? By adding a little bit of motion into it, it helps your body feel like, okay, we're going back here, and then boom, this way, right? And use just your lead hand. And this is a great drill to really feel how your body naturally wants to sequence itself, right? How we just stay back here and let that club go out towards the target. You'll notice when you do this drill, guys, it gets really hard to early extend. There's no reason why you would with just your lead arm, right? The early extension is a reaction to too much right hand and steepening the club in the downswing. So far as possible, I mean, that is what the math says, right? Like, hit the ball as far as you possibly can down the fairway. I have to swing at 90% with my driver because occasionally when I swing faster or, when I try to really am feeling like, okay, let's just swing as hard as we, send it down there as far as we can, a really, really bad swing will come out, right? Like I'll hit a huge double cross or a huge hook, right? A shot that I, just don't see when I swing at 90 or 95%. So for me, it's about minimizing the downside, right? And I have enough speed where like that normal, like balanced on-course swing is still going to carry, 275 or 280. I don't have to hit the like 300 carry in the air shot a lot of the time. But again, I think if you want to shoot lower scores, we know because of Mark Brody and John Sherman, some of these guys, Scott Fawcett, that the data says hitting your driver in play and as far down the hole as possible is the best way to lower your scores. It's directly correlated with your handicap potential. You're welcome, Chase. Immortal Vortex says, how much do you drop your hands in setup? I've always had straight arms and it works, just not consistent. Was told dropping hands is a big thing to help it. I'm not sure I understand about the dropping hands part. You're saying like drop the hands this way, like lower? I think wherever your arms hang naturally, right? Our setup, we want to have, it's mostly you're standing pretty straight and our knees bend to hold our weight, right? But there's not a whole lot of knee bend in the setup, right? It's a soft bend in the knee and then some hip bend here, right? Trying to keep, some angle, right, in between our hips and our torso here in order to enable the separation of our upper and lower body and create that space, right, that we need to hit the ball. But I wouldn't try to be, like really feeling like your hands are dropping too much in the setup. Best budget golf monitor, Jackass. I have the Rapsodo, the MLM. And I think it's pretty good. I probably will upgrade to the MLM 2 Pro when I can. RB said hi. Hey, RB. And then Brody asked, how do I keep from towing everything? Good question. So if you're hitting everything out of the toe, right, what I want you to do is try to hit 10 balls in a row right out of the heel, right? Try to practice moving around your strike pattern, right? So if you're saying, I'm trying to hit the center of the face, and I just am consistently hitting it on the toe, right? Well, teach yourself to say, okay, I don't want to hit it on the toe anymore. I really want to hit the center. But in order to do that, I need to practice hitting the heel. And what do I have to do? You might have to stand closer to it. You might have to adjust your path into the ball, right? But give yourself a task. The task is hit the ball out of the heel. And then let your brain and your body organize itself that way. And if you can hit 10 balls out of the heel, well, then you can definitely hit the next 10 out of the middle. When I do that, I end up shifting my weight, not rotating my hips through. I sway and not rotate. Well, Gustavo, it's important to remember that it's a weight shift, not a sway, right? So when I shift my weight, I'm shifting it more like front to back almost, right? Like I'm pushing the weight into my heel, right? So the weight does shift from back to front some, right? But then remember, as we push this way, we don't want this hip sliding towards our target, right? So it's a weight shift and then a push, right? A jump almost off this left foot backwards this way, right? That's what enables us to create speed off of the ground and to rotate through the shot, right? So try to feel like you're more posted up, like you're not shifting this way. You don't want this lead hip getting out in front of your foot here, right? But it's more of a post into it, right? And push into that lead side, right? That's going to pushing off of the ground here. That pushes my left hip back. That's what causes the rotation and gives me the room to hit the ball. Porter said hi. Hey, Porter. I've always reached for the ball, straight arms. Yeah, I think just try to set up pretty naturally to it. Do I have to turn my hips to hit the ball? Well, you don't have to, but it will make it easier, and you can certainly create more power that way. Have you heard of the Juju swing? I'm an 18 handicap, don't have time to play as consistent, but I came across the Juju swing, debating trying it out. I think it's definitely worth a try. I think a lot of the... Am I mistaken in thinking this is where it's like, really kind of like up like this, and then, you just drop it underneath and hit the ball? I think it is a very extreme reaction to what a lot of beginner players struggle with, right? Which is the inside takeaway and then the steepening, right? If you teach somebody to keep the club like way out this way, right? Well, they're never gonna be over the top, right? Because you'd be hitting the ball sideways, right? Imagine if you made a backswing like this and then you came over the top, like I could actually probably hit it like behind me. Could be a cool trick shot. But if that's what I'm thinking of, as what you're saying is the Juju swing, give it a try, right? I mean, Matthew Wolf, Jim Furyk, plenty of guys who have successful careers with a really you know, exaggerated outside takeaway and then looping it back underneath. It's definitely better than the opposite. I'm stuck half swinging with driver. Big sad. Any suggestions? I'm not sure. Know what you mean, Adam. But you're saying like you can't hit it straight if it's on anything more than a half swing. I think that's more just about practice, right? You know, try to find the center of the face, add some speed when you can. DJ asks, is a 7-wood overrated? Absolutely not, DJ. 7-woods are awesome. I am a huge fan of the 7-wood. This is my new QI35 7-wood. Goes about 230 yards. And it's awesome. It's way more fun to hit into par 5s than a 2-iron. I think it's more fun to hit than... I mean, I love my 2-iron. I love hitting stingers. I love hitting that, you know, at that low running shot is super fun. But consistency-wise, unless it's super windy out, I'm going to have this thing in the bag. Super attractive. You know, once you get used to how much loft is on it. I'm honestly considering getting a 9-wood. Like, why even have a 5-iron? You know, just have a bunch of woods. Just play like an old man, you know, but swing it fast. I can hit my driver in woods, but not my irons. Any tips? Good question, Caden. So remember, the iron swing and the driver swing, they are different. Our goals are different. On the driver, we're trying to swing up on it, deliver that nice shallow angle into it. With an iron, because the ball is sitting on the ground and we have this lofted face, right, we have to deliver a downward strike in order to expose the center of the face, right, those 3rd, 4th, 5th grooves. So to do that, right, remember, we want that with the driver, we want to feel kind of low to high, right? We're launching that ball up into the air. With the iron, it's kind of the opposite. You want to feel like you're on top of it, right, and swinging more high to low. Right, and really compressing that ball. I want to watch that swing because I really flushed it. Right, so that's the difference. That's what you want to try to feel and work on, Caden. So give that a try and see how it goes. Just started breaking 90 consistently. Hey, good way to go, Matt. Matt Bread, congrats. How can I create more consistency in my ball striking? Just practice, right? So you've definitely, you know, you've played enough. You can break 90. Where you can, you know, occasionally strike the ball really solidly, right? It's just about, you know, trying to make that swing 9 or 10 out of 10 times instead of 6 out of 10, right? And how do you do that? You just keep practicing the skills, the ball striking, right? Hitting the center of the face. And a great way to do that, right? To practice your ball striking, I'll put a piece of tape down when I'm hitting balls, right? Give myself some instant feedback on the strike, right? And I'll just come in here and make little half swings and just practice really, boom, making sure I'm hitting it consistently and solidly, and, you know, make sure your impact is really, really solid. The best way to keep lowering your scores, right? Double bogey avoidance, no 3 putts, but beyond that, just improve the consistency of your strike. How do I fix my slice/fade every shot, no matter the club fades or slices? Well, Dougal, what I want you to do is learn how to hit some big hooks, right? Get on the driving range. Whatever it is you have to do to your swing, start hitting some big, big draws, right? And you're going to learn how to control that club face, right? The slice you're hitting is because the swing is steep, over the top, right? And the face is open. So we need to neutralize that, have the path be more from the inside, more shallow, and have that club face more closed into impact. So learning how to hit some big draws is a really good way to work on that. Is your wood setup 3, 5, 7? No, it's driver, 5 wood, 7 wood right now. I probably could put the 3 wood back in and take the 4-iron out. But I don't really see the point. Like, I hit 5 wood 250 off the tee, and I don't really have a need ever to hit like a 270 shot off the tee. Like, I might as well just hit driver. Maybe I should put it back in. I don't know. But I don't really hit 3 wood off the deck because I'm not trying, you know, I'm not hitting it off of the fairway all that often. You know, the 5 wood's much easier to launch off the turf, so Yeah, driver 5 wood, 7 wood at the moment, and then 4 iron through 9. I have the Tacomo 301 CB irons in the bag, guys. These are nice. Do you use any hybrids? No hybrids at the moment. Crosby said hi. Hey, Crosby. Johnny wants to know, how can rotation become relaxed? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. Again, I think, you're going to have to work at it, but the rotation is largely a byproduct of achieving our goals, right? Which is, swinging this club on a wide arc around our body in order to deliver that, path and face combination to hit a straight ball at our target, right? If you want to have it feel more relaxed, try to incorporate some rotation away from the golf swing, right? So you could practice, really getting some big, exaggerated type, rotation in your body. And then, try to have that incorporate into your swing to have it feel more natural. That's my first thought. Logan says, any tips? I'm a 15-year-old intermediate golfer, average score 95. Yeah, so my best tips are for beginners, work backwards from impact, right? And seriously, I still do this. Get on the range, grab a 9 iron, and try to hit it 50 yards in the air. But make sure that you make a balanced swing, you make a nice strike in the center of the face, and the ball flies, nice and straight towards your target, right? Just boom. And just drill that over and over and over again, and then add speed to the swing, right? Don't make a big full swing and then be like, well, I keep hitting it out of the toe and I'm trying to move the impact. Like, why am I not having success? You got to make it slower, make it smaller, right? And if you hit 100 balls with that little half swing, right, and you really just practiced hitting the center of the face, delivering a good strike on the ball, right? It doesn't have to be full speed. It can be just something like that, right? But you got to learn impact and then add speed to your swing. Any at-home practice tips or drills for beginner? No experience at all. Thank you. New to this. Yeah, sure. So if you're at home and you want to work on your game, one way to do that would be to put yourself on camera or use a mirror, right? But on camera is a good way because then you can compare to, another players whose swing you like, right? A Scotty Scheffler or a Nelly Korda, or some ones that I go to for myself, right? And what I'll do is I'll set up my phone, like I have it now on a tripod, in my bedroom or somewhere I can make a swing. And I'll start recording, and I'll just set up and kind of go slow and kind of go through my current swing, set up to some, right? And then put that video next to, or, watch it once through, then watch a video of your favorite player's swing, and just say, okay, well, when I'm halfway back, my club head's in here, right? And when Scotty does it, his club head is out this way. Like, okay, I can adjust my swing to try and better match that position I see in my favorite player's swing, right? And you don't need to hit golf balls to do that. You can just, on camera, walk through some swings, right? And try to notice, you'll notice a lot of things at setup, right? Like, what are the angles at setup? How can I better emulate, a really quality setup position, right? So that's a really good way to try and get better at home without even having to hit balls. Any tips to hit the ball further? Yeah, so 2 options. You can improve your launch conditions, right? Same club head speed, but, launch it higher with less spin. The ball can go further. Or you can swing faster, right? More club head speed. So again, 2 options: better launch conditions, more club head speed. The first one will have to do with, hitting the center of the face and positive angle of attack, right? Assuming we're talking about driver here. And lowering spin. The second one is about swinging the club faster, right? So lifting weights in the gym, or, you can go and just swing your own driver at the range 25 times in a row as fast as you can, right? Like a workout. And just practice swinging really fast and try to swing faster and faster and faster. Or there are programs like Stack is one of them. Super Speed Golf is the one that I have, with a weighted club system. It's about overspeed training. So, again, swing it faster or hit it better. And sorry if I missed your question, guys. There are a bunch here, so I'm trying to work through them all. DJs, what wedges are you gaming? I've got Vokey wedges in the bag. Have for a long time. My top ball speed this year is 172, Benny, on TrackMan. My highest ever recorded was like 181. That was back in college when I had a much better back and healthier body. But we're getting there. I mean, in practice, I've gotten my own driver club head speed back up to like 115, which it had gotten as low as like 103 when I was super out of shape and not playing golf more than a handful of times a year. So that was pretty bad. But now on the course, it's probably back in the 108 to 110 range. And if I'm really swinging hard in practice and I get loose, I can get it up, around 115 or a little higher. So, plenty of speed for most of the courses I'm playing. What balls do you recommend for spin? I'm not huge on the equipment stuff, like the Equipment Junkie, or there's some other good ones on YouTube. What's the correct footing for iron shots? Carter wants to hit his drives with a nice cut, but slicing it right now. So I would learn how to hit some draws, right, Kyle? Or sorry, Carter. And try to practice, moving the ball around, right, developing your path and face control relationship, right? Knows what it wants to know. How do I take my good range sessions and apply it to the course better? So this is a great question. A lot of us struggle with this. I think trying to make the range as similar to golf as you can is a good thing. If this is something you're struggling with, right? Block practice has its moments, but if you're really saying I can't produce the same shots on the golf course as when I'm on the range, try playing golf on the range, right? Think about what a golf course is like, right? You can hit a driver, then hit an 8-iron, then maybe play a par 3 and you hit a 6-iron. Right? And then play a par 5 where you hit a driver and a 3-wood and a 50-yard pitch, right? And try to translate, turn the range into golf, right? And try to teach yourself, that way to translate it better. That's where I would start. What's the correct footing for iron shots? So good question. Again, personal preference and your own body is going to make a difference here, but I think, something where your shoulders are slightly wider, or your feet are slightly wider than your shoulders, excuse me, right? And your arms hang pretty naturally. I like to have my toes flared out very slightly, both the front and the back, right? Trying, to allow my pelvis and my hips to rotate, right? So something like this is how I would set up, pretty neutral. I have the ball right in the center of my stance, ideally. And then I just stay pretty balanced from here. And I hit the ball. Ryan asks, what irons do you have? These are the Tacoma 301 CBs. I put these in the bag this season after playing blades. The 2011 TaylorMade MBs I had for a very long time. What golf shoes are you rocking? I don't see many guys going spiked these days. These are the... You see me wear these basically every day when I'm practicing. These are my Nike Air Max golf sneakers. These are not spiked. I do like the FootJoy Classics. And I have a pair of the, I think they're the Hyperflex or something like that. It's more of like a sneaker golf shoe. But I actually like the spikes, right? I struggle with, staying balanced and trying to really push into the ground. So I like having spikes. I would wear metal spikes if I could, and if I thought my body could hold up to it. I mean, most golf courses won't let you anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant. But they are awesome if you've ever tried metal spikes on your golf shoes. Why do all my irons go the same distance? Good question, Christopher. So I think this is probably to do with speed and strike. So you're going to need some amount of club head speed to launch those longer irons up into the air, right? Because they don't have enough loft to really help you. So that is a part of the equation, right? And you've got to make sure that you are really consistently hitting the center of the club face and delivering a quality strike on the ball, because otherwise, you're probably right. Your irons will go a pretty similar distance if the strike and the speed isn't there. So lots of good drills for working on impact. Spencer says tat walkthrough. How much time do you guys have? I don't think we have enough time to do all of that. Oh yeah, try that, Kyle. Try the middle of your stance. Back is going to be tough. Tat walkthrough. All my tats are mostly American traditional. This leg is all going to be Japanese traditional sleeve that's in progress. So sometimes people will be like, wow, that looks terrible. And I'm like, yeah, dude, it turns out you can't tattoo your whole leg all at once. So that's what this leg will be. This leg is all stuff that I've gotten from traveling, Europe and South America, all over the U.S. And then the arms, my chest were done here in Boston by a guy called Jimmy Johnson, who's awesome. Strongly recommend his work. Most of it, anyway, Jimmy did. I'm gonna have to get him. Jimmy's kind of like an uncle I never had. I'm gonna have to get him to sponsor this channel. People are gonna be showing up at his place of work after seeing me on here. The putter, guys. This is the Spider Tour from TaylorMade. This is the original, like 2015 or 16 version. No sight line. Pretty sure it's like 34 or 35 inches. With the Super Stroke grip on it. That's getting pretty worn down at this point, but we'll keep it going. Awesome putter. Definitely has got some battle scars on her, but tip to have a consistent game. I think it's all in the mental game, right? I'm still working on this, trying to remember that, the different holes, the different shots are independent events. Having made a mistake on a prior hole or prior shot can only negatively impact your next shot, right? You can't, you're very rarely going to be like, oh, well, I learned something from that bad shot I hit, and I'm then going to, fix my game going forward. That can happen, but generally speaking, at least for me, I do much better by trying to, stay present, think about, the shot I'm about to hit. What clubs do you play? Like these are the Tacoma 301 CBs. They're all standard length and lies. With the C-taper 125, these are S+, I think, between X and S shafts in them, with built-up mid-size grips, right? These are 1+1 wraps, I think. I'll probably go even to jumbo. Have I ever been on tour? No, I wish. Maybe a professional drinking tour back in the day. Good question, though, Jalen. I do have standard length shafts. I'm like 6 feet 170, so I don't know, pretty average size. And I think I have pretty long arms, they told me, so I don't have any longer clubs. I played half-inch longer for a little while at one point. I don't fully remember why, to be honest with you, but when I finally did get fit, they said standard length was fine. Okay, who else is in here? Kyle said, just ordered the Vessel Player V Pro bag. All the guy with the good gear who sucks makes me feel better about myself. Hey, that's okay, Kyle. I think, we're all here to just enjoy the game, get out and play golf, and if, equipment is one way that you enjoy the game, I think that's totally fine. You've heard me talk about how you don't need to spend a ton of money to get into golf and, buy all brand new clubs, right? The same is true as if you do want to do that, right? It's totally fine to get super into shafts and building equipment, right? I've been down that road a little bit, built some clubs and done a ton of grips on my own at home, that kind of thing. Jalen asks, what's the best round you've ever had? 64 is my career low. That was 6 under on a par 70 golf course. 6 birdies, an eagle, and a double bogey on the 4th hole. How to swing inside to out? Is this hip, shoulders, or hands? I have great compression and don't come over the top. Just need to attack inside part of the ball. Great question. So if you want to do that, right, what I recommend is giving yourself like a physical barrier. Some of you guys, if you've been in the stream long enough, have heard this before, but if you're trying to work on changing your path, right, you want to hit it from the inside, give yourself like a literal barrier so that you can really only get at the ball from a nice shallow angle, right? From the inside here. Because if you do make a swing that's steep or a little bit, not as shallow as you like, right? You're going to literally hit the barrier. Your path to the ball will be blocked, right? So this is a great way to force yourself to learn, right? A nice shallow path into the ball. So give that one a try, see how that goes for you. DJ asked, around the green, are you more of a single club with many shot type versus multiple clubs with the same stroke? Good question. I love the way that you frame this question because I think about it the same way, right? And I tell people you can learn one shot with multiple clubs or you can learn, multiple shots with one club. I am much more of a one club, multiple shots person, right? If I miss a green, unless I get up there and something really strange has happened, most of the time I've, pulling the 60 degree out of my bag before I even get up there. I'm very comfortable hitting like a really high, floaty, spinny one with this club, or, getting on top of it and putting it back in my stance and hitting like a really low kind of hooky one that you smother a bit, right, to hit a bump and run. Or, my standard pitch or chip around the green is kind of like just an expanded putting stroke, right? So pretty narrow stance, not a lot of wrist hinge at all, and just kind of, swing the triangle, if you will. So yeah, I'm a 60 degree around the green kind of guy. You're welcome, Aaron. I keep getting ads on IG for the B29 blue brick. I've never heard of it, Kyle. You have to tell me more. I'm not sure I know what that is. Do you line up the club face dead center or a little forwards or backwards? All these tips helps. I line it up in the center, and I also try to hover the club a tiny bit. Any tips on wrist hinge? Oh, sorry, Turner. I might have missed your question. My grip progressively gets stronger with longer clubs. How to get more power into your shot? And I hit my irons right for some reason. How to measure correctly the strength you have to do in a putt. That's very hard. If anybody figures that out, speed control on the greens, let me know because I still struggle with it. I think that is just practice, Kyle, or the best. How to get more power into your shot. So club head speed, right? How do we build more club head speed? Lift weights in the gym, practice swinging faster, or invest in like a super speed golf or a stack system to help build up your club head speed. Or improve your launch conditions in order to hit the ball further. My grip progressively gets stronger with the longer clubs. I don't know why that is. Maybe you're struggling to square the face because of the flatter plane, right? The longer the club gets, the flatter the plane is naturally. Maybe that's what's happening, but it's not typical. I try to have the face, have my grip be pretty consistent all the way through the bag. So I don't know why that's happening, but it's interesting. Just want to say thank you guys again before we run out of time for the night. Just very grateful for all the support on the channel. Everybody, liking and subscribing. Not only the live streams, but the videos, the shorts. Really just could not have expected this amount of support and engagement from, the community. Just how cool everybody is supporting the content. All the people who come back time and time again to hang out on these live streams. I'm having a ton of fun with it. I hope you guys are too. We just blasted through, I think, 1,600 subscribers, which is insane to me. I mean, I thought, I still remember I had notes from when I hit my first 100 subscribers, and I was so pumped. And I still feel that way, right? It's just very cool to see the growth, to see the validation. So I hope that you guys are getting something out of it. I know I am, right? I'm invested in my game more. It feels really good to help people, not only with their game, but, sharing some knowledge and wisdom about life stuff. Right? Mostly what I want you to hear is thank you. I really am grateful. It really means a lot. It's very cool. Should the left knee straighten before or after impact? Some say before for faster club speed. Some say later for consistency. I'm not sure the answer to that, Conley. Kyle says it helps you learn to shallow your swings with stick slots for irons, driver, and woods. Could write a paragraph explaining it. I'll have to look into it. This is the Net Return Pro Series. And just to finish that last thought, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, if you haven't yet subscribed, I would appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button for me. And hopefully, you know, you learned something on the stream, or at least heard something that made you laugh or smile and want to come back for more. So, like I said, we're going to keep doing this stuff. And hopefully start playing some better golf, too. I mean, I've been investing in my game a ton, practicing a ton, hitting balls in here. Right, we just started the new 30-day putting challenge series, so trying to recommit to that, too. And you know what? We might not see the results for a while. We might have to keep getting better, keep practicing before we see it on the golf course, but I feel really committed to the process, and hopefully, you know, bringing you guys along with me makes it that much easier. Yeah, that was hit good. All right, guys, unfortunately, that is going to do it for tonight's stream. Thank you all so much for being here. If you have a question that you didn't get answered tonight and you really, you know, want my opinion on it, drop a comment on either the live stream or one of the recent shorts, and I'll see it there. Or just subscribe and hit the notification button. Come back to the next stream. We're going to do this again soon, hopefully tomorrow. And if I didn't answer your question, we'll do it then. But until next time, guys, swing hard always. Keep working hard out there. We'll see you next time.